Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. It is time for another happy hour. This is our last one in October of 2021. I yesterday thought it was 2022, and I spent all day labeling things 2022, 2021, October.
Maybe you just have a really optimistic view for the rest of this year.
Maybe.
Like, we're going to survive it wonderfully and be so excited for the new year.
Maybe.
Or I guess you could be really pessimistic and be like, why can't we get over this year?
Get over this year. Well, cheers to either one of those. As always, drink responsibly if you choose to do so. And also, anything that we discuss that we are drinking, we are not currently sponsored by, and we will always let you know if that is not the case. So, Samantha, what are you drinking?
Well, today I decided I wanted to be a little more fallish, winter-ish. And I bought not too long ago the Sam Adams Winter Lager.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Winter Lager Festive and Smooth is how it's titled. But yeah, so it's been really good because this is kind of what I think about for a fall winter beer, where it's cozy because it's very hearty, I guess, with just a little bit of spice. It describes it as winter lager. No matter what or how you celebrate the spiced holiday lager's rich malt notes and accents of cinnamon, ginger, and orange peel are perfect for any festivities.
Perfect for any festivities.
Yes, the ginger and cinnamon, right?
Oh.
And we had thought about doing Sam Adams as a happy hour before, but I'm not going to lie, I've got a lot of confusion through looking at their brewery stuff. I know they've worked to wave like Pink Boot Society. They did have a woman who was the head brewer named, I believe, Megan Parisi. I can't find if she's still there. If she is, someone tell me, let me know, because we want to always celebrate that. But yeah, so I'm a big fan of Sam Adams. I know it's not one of the independent beers, so don't get at me. Oh, no, I lied. It is. They have the label.
What label?
The independent craft label, which was it was a big deal in the beer industry because we had a lot of the bigger production companies who were trying to pretend like, since they bought out the smaller beers that had been craft beer. So I guess Sam Adams is still craft beer. I didn't know this. I'm sorry, Sam Adams.
Well, maybe in a future episode, we can look into that further. I did the very silly touristy thing when I was in Boston, where you can get a Sam Adams and see Sam Adams' grave, essentially. It's Sam Adams in front of Sam Adams. Yeah. It's a whole tourist thing.
I didn't know.
Well, now you do. It's important information.
Okay.
I do have associations with cooler weather and fall with Sam Adams. I know that's not always the case. Again, not a sponsor.
Yeah, they had one of the better Oktoberfests a long time ago. I was like, this is one of the better ones. It's not over the top, like too. And again, Samuel Adams, as it's labeled. And this is not about them, by the way. So I've stressed these ones too long. But Samuel Adams was one of the first beers that I liked. A few of my first beers were Newcastle, which I was like, that does something to your stomach for some reason, but I loved it. Guinness and Sam Adams. So they were my beginning. And Fat Tire. Like, those were the beginning beers for me. So I have a love for them. Abita is also one of those as well. But yeah, Sam Adams is definitely that one that I'll be like, what are these little seasonal things? Let me have those. And I still enjoy them.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking the other day, I have friends who I introduced to beer, and now I believe some of it was Sam Adams, but now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was not, I didn't choose the right alcohols, I think. But they remember all these stories very well. I think the Oktoberfest might have been one of them. But then also that awkwardness of being at a college party, especially for me, because I really didn't drink that much beer. I didn't really drink that much at all then. And showing up with what you think is a popular beer. And then I have more than one memory of overhearing people saying, like, she bought that. Like, all this judgment.
So
I didn't know.
You're college students. You can't afford anything. Why are you being judgy?
Come on. Clearly we have a lot of thoughts on this. It's funny. I am, in an attempt to use up some of the massive bottle of pumpkin spice syrup
yes,
that I have, due to Holly Fry's cocktail that we had on the last happy hour, which was amazing and I loved. I created, it's a little bit of pumpkin pie syrup, which I'm glad because it's very strong. Bourbon and soda water and nutmeg and cinnamon and a little bit of lemon. And it's actually really good.
That sounds delicious.
It's a one and done, but it's very good.
Well, it sounds kind of like a hot toddy without the tea, but with pumpkin spice instead and not being warm.
Yes. A lot of caveats, but yes. It does have that kind of vibe. It's kind of, it reminds me of a cool cider or something. A very fall drink. I like it.
I have consistently been drinking every morning my pumpkin spice syrup in my coffee. And then I've made my partner drink it too because I'm like, we have to get rid of this in 2 weeks because it goes bad.
How's it going? Are you close?
Yeah, we're doing well. Yeah, it's almost
awesome.
gone. I think we got like maybe 3 or 4 days worth. I could be really overselling it.
I'm going to say that's an accomplishment, Samantha, and I'm very proud of you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, so since this is the last happy hour in October and before Halloween, we wanted to close out. I know we've talked a lot about Halloween and spooky things. So, it's sort of a closing of the book. And I know we've done past episodes on, our favorite things about certain holidays. And I was thinking about it, and I'm not sure we've ever done anything like that for Halloween. We kind of talked about it in the last episode with me and Holly. But you didn't really chime in, so we can hear from you. Yeah, but I wanted to talk about some of my favorite traditions, which I thought could be something we could share. But most of mine, I'm remembering like being a child and when Halloween was so exciting. And one thing my dad used to do, he did this for every holiday. He would get us a small gift. Usually it was a movie, and usually it was a movie he wanted. But still, it was exciting. And we had one called Boo Bags. So on Halloween, we would get these little orange Boo Bags, and it would usually be one movie in there and then some candy. Pumpkin carving, I am a huge fan of pumpkin carving to this day. I have my pumpkin. It's huge. It's going to be a beast to carve. And I always do one side, I do the Sleepy Hollow pumpkin face. And then on the other side, I do the Nightmare Before Christmas Jack Skellington face.
Oh, no wonder it dies so quickly.
Yeah,
You're
my pumpkins die very quickly.
Out of them.
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't understand this last time we had this conversation. Then I was like, and now I'm like, oh, you have 2 faces that are very intricate? Okay, that's why.
Yes. Yeah, my pumpkins always die really quickly, so I carve them the weekend of Halloween usually. And then I cook the pumpkin seeds, and I do half savory and half cinnamon sugar.
Yep. So, oh God, I feel like when we talk about childhood traditions, I just talk about trauma. So I'm trying not to do this. However, I don't remember doing significant things for Halloween. And I won't say it's because my mom and dad didn't want to. I lived in the woods. So going door to door was not a thing. I always thought it was in the movies. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one, especially like people not from the US, like talking about this, but that seemed so cinematic that it seemed unreal, that I did not understand what this was. Now, I say this, and there was a suburb in LJ that was in the town of, and they did this, and it was the rich part of the town that people would go around. And because my mom had a lot of anxiety and a lot of self-doubt, I feel like we didn't do this as much. I could be wrong because I just can't remember it. There are 2 significant things that I do remember going with my grandmother, who my grandmother loved looking at us and thought we were adorable. I only remember one significant costume, which was being a pumpkin with a turtleneck because it was so flippin' cold. My brother and I fought all the time, so it could have been that it was just a hassle to take us out anywhere because we tried to kill each other.
Right.
That could be that too. So I don't have a lot of memories of that. I do have some memories of carving pumpkins, but I think it was more like we watched them carving pumpkins because knives and children They don't really mix. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know about baking pumpkin seeds until I was in college, and I loved it.
Mhm.
And we did a few of the pumpkin carvings in college. I would get tired after making one eye because it looked so dumb that I would give it over to someone and ask them to do it. And I'm like, I'll go bake the pumpkin seeds while you do this, or I'll roast the
Mhm.
pumpkin seeds. So never a huge fan of crafting. I really suck at crafting. I really wish I could say that it's because like I've never tried it. I'm just, maybe again, my attitude in the whole, if I'm not the best at it, I'm not going to do it at all attitude comes in
Mhm.
too much. And the anxiety of like performing for people, like it's just too much. But all that to say, I also have that problem with costumes. I feel like I'm not creative enough. I can't figure out what I want to do. So it puts me into an anxiety swirl instead of
Mhm.
trying to actually enjoy it. So I just quit altogether and set it
Mhm.
out. So again, a lot of bah humbug in this thing. And I will say, as much as I try to love it, because this is probably the one holiday I like more so than any others, beginning of my birthday, which is in September, to the end of the year, I hate the season.
Mhm.
I'm such a pessimist. So there's a lot of weirdness that I have around these things. Again, my childhood was not because it's not normal or anything, but those things were not done
Mhm.
necessarily in rural Georgia where you lived in the woods and there was no one near you.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I also lived in rural Georgia. My mom would get us in the back of a pickup truck, and we would slowly, like, go. And, most of the houses, it would take you forever to get to them, and they might not have candy. One woman gave me a nickel. I'll never forget that. I'll
Even
never
better.
forget that as long as I live. Because I was looking at it, what is this? I'd rather have an apple.
Right. Give me a toothbrush or something.
So this nickel, I can't do anything with this. Not even a quarter.
Right.
It is funny how like entitled you feel as a child that you better get candy. But
Right.
I would go to one friend's house and her neighborhood was close. Like all the houses were close and they had good candy. They had the good stuff.
Right? There's always that neighborhood.
I know but that's part of the thing too, is I would get so excited once I got older and I'm like, we gotta have all this candy for all the kids who are gonna come by. And no one would come because rural Georgia, it would take forever to get there.
Right.
It's dark.
Of course, now because of that in itself, and then also because churches, they have the whole trunk or treat.
Yeah.
Instead of trick or treat, because it was
Mhm.
out of their trunk and it was religious based.
Huh. I did go. My dad, as I've said, he was a professor, and they would do like a family. You could take your family and they would have games and they would have like trick or treat down the dorm halls. And I did that twice and I loved it.
I think the one thing that I'm thinking about when I think of costumes is because our school would do things. But
Mhm.
after a little while, because people complained about Halloween being too devilish,
Right.
they made it a book week. So you could dress up every day of the week as your
Mhm.
favorite book characters. I remember those.
Oh, that's fun. I still didn't do anything like that.
I'm very bitter about losing to the girl who dressed up who was my best friend, by the way, as Dorothy when I had my Korean hanbok on. And I was like, really? 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 Dorothy beat me? Whatever. I'm still bitter about this.
I can see. I've had fast costume contests from like, you just won because your costume's funny.
Just because you're a pretty brown-haired girl and I'm the Korean over here, fine.
Yes. No, definitely not. That is one of my favorite aspects of like costuming though, is I do love kind of the funny pictures you get where it's like there's one picture I have of me and my siblings where like my little brother was SpongeBob. I was a sorceress and my older brother was a Ninja Turtle, and it just brings me joy. It makes me laugh. It's very silly.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing too, is you had to get creative cost-wise with costumes sometimes. So my sorceress outfit was like a sheet that I cut and made it and like
That's
painted.
amazing.
I thought it looked cool.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yes. Well, something else we've been talking about a lot is horror movies. And I'm just curious, Do you remember how you got into horror movies?
So as a teenager, I would go over to my best friend's house and we would watch all of the CD listed movies. I don't think it was my first, but one of the ones that I have seared in my memory is the House of Wax 80s edition. Not even the original, but the 80s edition with the dude from Gremlins.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen that one.
It was a whole thing because it was like sexual enough without having too many like sex scenes that it seared. Like I was probably 12, 13 when we watched this. Because again, like I was born in the 80s, but 12, 13 would have been in the 90s. So it's probably mid to late 80s that this came out. And I just remember, because the dude, Vincent Price, was in it as well. So his face is very much seared into my brain. But like that was one of those movies. But it was all of those awful movies that I watched, which is also why I have a fear of clowns and also a fear of inanimate objects that are life-size, and I'm sure it's going to come to life and kill me.
Wow, it really impacted you.
It did.
Those 80s horror movies.
Those 80s horror movies really mess with your head.
I see. I mean, certainly, yeah, the first ones you watch and you get exposed to can definitely influence things that you fear. I didn't know that's why inanimate objects got you. Huh. All right.
It's not the only one.
That's true. It's true.
And then when you brought out that VR game with Freddy's House of Horrors, that was my nightmare. I'm like, how dare you?
Freddy's House of Horror is called Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's excellent. But yeah, she was not happy.
I looked around and I went, nope, and threw the thing off my head.
It was just a menu screen, and she was like, nope, which is fair. It's scary. And I believe there's a video of me playing it, or there was at one time.
I will post it.
On our social.
Again.
Peaches was very concerned for me.
She was.
Yeah, I mean, that's also interesting what scares different people, and having that conversation of like, that doesn't scare me at all. And it being something that terrifies the other person. Something I used to do, me and my old roommate in college, is during October, it was the nerdiest thing, but I loved it. At night, we would light up our small pumpkins and we would take turns reading scary stories to each other, drinking tea. And this was before I knew I had my issue with tea. And then we would watch a scary movie in the like candlelight. And it was just such a like kind of wholesome and nerdy thing, but I
that
just
seems so
adored
Victorian.
it.
I love that because I would try to do that by myself, of like reading by candlelight, going, how the hell did they read by candlelight? Because I can't see these words.
Yes. Yeah, it was just a delight. I love finding, as I think we've discussed several times on this podcast, but I love when you find those like little traditions with friends. And I don't do it anymore, but I just remember it so fondly, of reading scary stories to each other on cool nights.
That's so cute.
Yeah. Well, cheers, everyone. Cheers to you, Samantha.
Cheers. Clink.
Yes. Clink. Whether you celebrate Halloween or not, whether you enjoy it or not, I hope you have a lovely weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, a lovely, safe weekend. And if you do have any traditions around Halloween you would like to share, we would love to hear about them. You can email us at stuffmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Instagram at Stuff Mom Never Told You, or on Twitter at MomStuffPodcast. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina.
Happy Halloween again.
Happy Halloween again. And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.